Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to English 454. This is lecture 13 and we're going to discuss whatever Samuel Johnson had to say about John Milton and Cowley. John Milton was a Puritan writer and Cowley was a metaphysical writer, and Samuel Johnson during his lifetime had worked very much on the biographies of different poets of England, and from these poets of England we have picked up these two, Milton and Cowley, to give you an idea of how he has criticized the famous poets of his time. When he was criticizing the poets, or he was critically appreciating the poets, as we might rightly put it, he was not trying to, focus on the great names only, but he focused on the poets who were rather lesser known at that period. But he believes that a life that was important, a life of a great man, is as important as that of a common man. So he continued commenting on all these poets, and he was one of the first biographer in the history of literature. So after him it became a trend and everything. So when we were discussing Samuel Johnson, we discussed Paradise Lost. We discussed other poems by John Milton as well. We discussed Allegro and El Pesarazo. We discussed Comus the Mask. We discussed Lycidas. We discussed Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained, and we also discussed this drama written by John Milton, that is Samson Agonistes. Okay, so we'll just revise and go through whatever we have read about Samuel Johnson, and we'll start with Paradise Lost. It's the Paradise Lost, as Samuel Johnson says, it's an epic poem. So a poem which, considered with respect to design, may claim the first place, and with respect to performance may claim the second place among the productions of human mind. So according to Samuel Johnson, it is one of the finest creations that human being or human mind has ever done. If you consider its design, it is the first in number, ever written, ever created, ever designed. This is the first thing that human mind has done. It's the first thing as far as the ranking is concerned. It's not कि पहली चीज़ जो उसने लिखी. This is the most extraordinary design. It's the most extraordinary idea that has been thought of by human mind. Thinking, doing things, creating beings which are so far above us, thinking how they were thinking, how they were feeling, how they talked, how they look like, to create an atmosphere that you have never observed. Design पे अगर आप उसकी बात करें, उसकी scheme of things पे अगर आप बात करें, so it is considered one of the best that was ever written by a human being. As far as the performance is concerned, how well it was conducted, how well it was executed, it is second in number. He didn't say what he considered to be the first one, but as far as Paradise Lost is concerned, he believes that it is second in number. This is the second best thing that human mind can produce. Writing an epic poem requires the assemblage of all the powers which are singly sufficient for other compositions. We have discussed it, that every kind of art requires different kind of faculties. For poetry you need different kind of faculty, for painting you need different kind of faculties, for writing a tragedy you need different kind of faculties. But for writing an epic poem you need to put all your faculties together. Other kinds of arts, they might require one or two of these faculties, but for epic poetry you need all these faculties put together. You need to be good in language, you need to have this sense of drama, you need to have this style which would go with the poetry, you need to have almost everything in order to write a great epic poem. Epic poetry teaches the most important truths by the most pleasing precepts, and therefore relates some great truths in the most affecting manner. अच्छा, epic poetry का क्या फ़ायदा है? It is going to teach you, it's going to instruct you, it is going to tell you truths, it's going to tell you a story, and with the help of that story, it's going to teach you the universal truth. जो कि purpose है, according to Plato, purpose of poetry. Its purpose of poetry or purpose of art would be to teach you, to instruct you, to moralize you. So in the case of an epic poem, especially in the case of the epic poem that we are studying, the best thing about it is that it is going to moralize, it's going to teach you something, and that teaching is going to be best ever done. It's going to teach you the morality, it's going to teach you justice, and it's going to give you very good rules by the most affecting manner, most pleasing precepts. It will focus on these words. You should remember these words. These are the most pleasing precepts, most pleasing rules. It's the nicest possible way of telling or teaching you something. It's the nicest possible way, the most pleasurable way of providing instruction, of moralizing. Moralizing तो हर एक करता है. Moralizing तो आपको तबलीगी जमात के lectures में भी मिलती है, तारिक जमील के lectures में moralizing है, बाकी अलेक्जेंडर पोप भी moralize कर रहा है. But the epic poem would be written in such a way that it's going to give you a story, और उस story के अंदर से moral निकलेगा, and that moral is going to please you, and it's also going to instruct you. It's going to tell you what justice and mercy means. It's going to tell you what universal truths are, and you're going to learn it a little better than you're going to learn in any other way. The poet's first duty is to find a moral which has a fable, which a fable will illustrate later on. ठीक है, पहली चीज जो आपके पोएट के जहन में होनी चाहिए वो उसका पर्पस है, मॉरल है. उसने कोई स्टोरी बतानी है, उसने कोई पोएम सुनानी है, तो उसने क्यों सुनानी है, क्या सिखाना चाह रहा है. Morality जो है ना वो बहुत important है according to Samuel Johnson, and he believes that a poet who wants to write something should know what he wants to teach, and when he know what he wants to teach, when he has this purpose, this objective in his mind, only then he can move on, only then he can say that this is how it should go on, and this is the story I can create to illustrate this particular moral. This holds true for Milton, because this is what he has done. The morals of other poems they are incidental and consequential. In Milton's only it is essential and intrinsic. It's inbuilt, it's essential. This is the moral that would come out of it. This is not something that you have to derive. This is not something that you'll have to guess, something that you'll arrive at. This is something that's inbuilt, that is going to happen, that's consequential. ये होना ही होना था. बाकी सब में consequentially essential. बाकी सब में consequence है of events. Because of this event, this happened. It has to be created, it has to be told. But in case of Milton, this is not the case. In case of Milton, it comes naturally. It comes as a part of it. It comes to you when you read the poem and you say, of course. Of course, this is the moral of the poem. Of course, this is what he's trying to teach me here. He has involved in the account of the fall of the man, the events which preceded it and the events that will follow it. He has woven the entire system of theology that every pair seems necessary. उसने सारी की सारी चीज़ों को डिस्कस किया है. उसने पूरी की पूरी थियोलॉजी जो आपकी है, पूरी साइंस ऑफ रिलीजन जो है उसको इसके अंदर डाल दिया है. उसने पूरी की पूरी आपकी जो स्क्रिप्चर की नॉलेज है उसको इसके अंदर डाला है. He has involved the fall of man and the events which preceded it and the events that will follow it. It was not, he did not treat this fall or this first disobedience with something, something you just pick out of the scripture and start talking about it. उसने पूरा एक context बनाया है और उसने उसका consequence भी दिया है कि because of this fall of man, this is what is going to happen next. He has woven the entire system of theology that every pair seems necessary, that everything seems necessary, that everything is like one event is leading to the other event. Every part of whatever he has written, it seems important. Nothing can be taken away, nothing can be added to it. You do not feel like it. Tragedy complete कब होती है, epic poetry complete कब होती है, when you feel that there is nothing that you can take away from it and nothing that can be added on to it. It should be so complete, so compact, so comprehensive that nothing can be taken away and nothing can be added to it. If you take something away, it would mutilate it, and if you add something to it, it would be a little too long, it was not needed, it would be superfluous. He focused on the fates of the world, because when this entire episode of Milton, this first disobedience of man happened, or the first disobedience of the creation happened, when Satan was, he defied God and all, the fates of the worlds were changed for good. Things were not the same anymore. Things were not as easy as they were supposed to be. बहुत से नए elements add हो गए थे उन लोगों की fortunes में. Adam and Eve, they were supposed to live quietly and peacefully in the paradise and worship God and thank Him and admire Him and all that. But with the help, with the passing of this fall, what happened? That this death enters their life. They became mortal. They were immortals. They're going to continue live like that. फिर उनकी जो physical element है, lust है, वो involve हो जाती है. उनकी pain involve हो जाती है उनकी जिंदगी में. The fates of the world changed. The world came into being. इंसानों का एक पूरा समंदर उसके बाद बहा, क्योंकि इंसान से पहली गलती हुई. He discussed the revolution of heavens and the earth, how heaven came into being, how the earth came into being, what was the distance between heaven and the earth, how did it matter, how did Satan move from hell to earth, and all these things, the revolutions of planets, with the planetary movements, ko kaun si cheez center mein hai aur kaun si cheez uske get revolve kari. He talks about all these things. The rebellion against the supreme king by the highest order of the beings. It's the fight of the titans here. People भी नहीं कहना चाहिए इनको, तो characters of the greatest amplitude. It's the supreme king we are talking about. We do not know anyone superior than the supreme king. वो जिसके पास सारी ताकत है. He is the one, and he is being defied by highest order of being. जो उसकी पसंदीदा मखलूक थी, जो उसने सबसे ज़्यादा exalted मखलूक create की थी, जो सबसे ज़्यादा exalted creatures थे, उन्होंने उसको defy कर दिया. The very second in command that who thought they were in second in command, when they were replaced, they defied him, they rebelled against him, and they created havoc. The punishment of their crime. When this happened, and the creation of a new race, Adam और Eve को बनाया गया, और उनकी fall, उनकी defiance, how Satan rebelled, and as a result of his rebellion, he decided that he's going to make them corrupt, and their corruption was the result. Their corruption was in the form of their defiance. उसने जाके शैतान ने आदम और हवा को defy किया, को tempt किया, and they defied God. They disobeyed God. They disobeyed a direct order, and they ate from the fruit of knowledge. As a result of eating from the fruit of knowledge, they fell from grace. The punishment of their crime was that they were to become mortal. They were to suffer pain. They were to undergo death, and this was one of the extreme suffering they could adore. The creation of a new race. As a result of this, there was this new race produced on earth. इंसान को दुनिया में भेज दिया गया कि उसने अब आगे multiply होना है, अपनी रेस को बढ़ाना है, और ये जो रेस बनेगी, it's going to fall again and again and again. It's going to commit sins, and it's going to continue lacking faith. It's going to disobey God, and then they're going to be restored to hope and mercy again and again and again. So something good came out of Paradise Lost. Something good came out of this fall of Adam, that for once and for all it was decided, the fates of the worlds were decided, and it was decided that human beings are going to sin. They're going to commit these blasphemies and these unthinkable things, but they'll realize that they've done something wrong, and after realizing that they've done something wrong, they would fall on their knees, and they will ask for forgiveness, and they'll be forgiven, because God has promised mercy and compassion and justice for his creations. Acha. The greatness in Paradise Lost is of a lot of is a topic of a lot of discussion. Before the greatness displayed in Milton's poem, all greatnesses they shrink away. Whatever he has portrayed in his poem, the kind of greatness that he has portrayed in his poem has never been portrayed before. This kind of greatness has never been discussed even before. No one thought of talking of God in the real sense of the God. ठीक है, mythology में they talked about these Greek gods and goddesses. I mean, they talk of Zeus, and they talk of Diana and Adonis and all these gods and goddesses, but वो तो mythology थी. जो Christian word है, जो sacred word है, जो scripture का word है, it was never discussed before, and Milton had the guts, he had the courage to discuss the ways of God, and he had the courage to justify the ways of God to man. The weakest of his agents, Milton's agents, are the highest and the noblest of human beings, whose actions affect the fates of the world. जो मिल्टन के जो वीकेस्ट एजेंट्स हैं, एडम और ईव, ठीक है, बिकॉज बाकी तो सारे एजेंट्स इतने नोबल हैं, कैरेक्टर्स इतने नोबल हैं, और वो इतने पावरफुल हैं, लेकिन जो उसके वीकेस्ट एजेंट्स भी हैं वो भी इतने पावरफुल हैं कि देयर एक्शन इज चेंजिंग द फेट्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड्स. हमारी जिंदगियां बदल रहे हैं, दुनिया की जिंदगी बदल रहे हैं, दुनिया की किस्मत बदल रहे हैं. हाउ थिंग्स आर गोइंग टू प्रॉस्पर इन फ्यूचर, हाउ थिंग्स आर गोइंग टू गो इन फ्यूचर, व्हाट इज गोइंग टू हैपन, दैट वुड बी डिसाइडेड बाय द weakest of the agents that Milton has created. यानी उसके weakest agents भी इतने ज़्यादा powerful थे कि वो इन सारी चीज़ों को, वो सारी दुनिया की तकदीर बदल सकते थे, दुनिया को जन्नत और दोज़ख में तब्दील कर सकते थे. Other agents in the poem are so high and lofty that we cannot take their name lightly. and the lower powers those which are restrained by God, or they will destroy everything and cause havoc everywhere और chaos everywhere. अच्छा, इसके अलावा जो weakest agents के अलावा जो noblest creatures उसने मिल्टन ने पोर्ट्रे किए हैं, वो creatures हैं जो कि इतने स्ट्रॉन्ग हैं, इतने बड़े हैं, इतने लॉफ्टी हैं, इतने नोबल हैं कि वी कैन नॉट टॉक ऑफ देम विदाउट फीलिंग दिस रेवरेंस फॉर देम, फीलिंग ऑल रिस्पेक्टफुल एंड फीलिंग सेक्रेड एंड एवरीथिंग. सो दीज आर सच कैरेक्टर्स. जो इविल कैरेक्टर्स पोर्ट्रे किए हैं वो भी कोई आम कैरेक्टर्स नहीं हैं. दे आर ऑल्सो आर सो ग्रेट एंड दे आर सो powerful that it's only the power of God that is restraining them. Had God not been restraining them, they would have caused chaos in the world, because उनको चूंकि वो rebel कर चुके थे, even then they were under the power of God. They could not do anything without the God's permission. Even then they could have created a chaos in the world. Had they been let do whatever they wanted to do, they would have destroyed the worlds. Such mighty tasks this mighty poet has undertaken and performed. This was a great task that he's undertaking, and not only he has undertaken a great task, but he has performed that great task as well, and he's executed it well. So dealing with such a great subject, dealing with such great beings as character, and the subject matter being so great and noble and so controversial at that time, it was a very mighty task, and such a mighty task can only be taken up by Milton and could only be performed so well only because it was Milton. Characters of Paradise Lost, which admit to examination, are those of angels and of man, of angels good and evil, of man in his innocent state and in his sinfulness. ठीक है? अच्छा, गुड एंजल्स में आते हैं, राफेल आ जाता है, अब गेब्रियल आ जाएगा, एब्डियल आ जाएगा. Now these characters, they're very well made. It's quite astonishing to find how did Milton find out about all these characters and how did he imagine them to be like he portrayed. But this is what great art is. So he has examined good angels and he has examined bad angels as well, and he's examined Adam and Eve in both the states they were in. They were in the state of innocence in the beginning, and then they were in the state of sinfulness. So he has given appropriate sentiments, appropriate words, appropriate feelings to all these characters in all these situations. The bad angels are diversified. Characters इतने diversified हैं कि angels ही हैं, लेकिन उसमें good angels भी दिखाए हैं और उसमें bad angels भी दिखाए हैं. और जो उसमें bad angels दिखाए हैं, they have been given such sentiments which suit them. जैसे Saturn का character है, it has been given such sentiments which the most exalted, the highest, noblest kind of person, a person who was at a very high pedestal and who was depraved then. He was fallen, he fell down from that pedestal, and it is only because he was at such a height that he fell so with such great force that the sentiments are so accurate here. Milton had to be very cautious about Satan's speeches. It was a difficult task to make a rebel speak without offending the sensibility of the pious. अब आपके सामने है कि मिल्टन ने अगर शैतान का कैरेक्टर पोर्ट्रे करना था तो उसका कैरेक्टर उसने ऐसा बनाना था ना जो कि रेबल है. अब रेबल वो है जो कि खुदा के खिलाफ रिबेल कर रहा है, उसके खिलाफ बगावत कर रहा है. जो खुदा के खिलाफ बगावत कर रहा है उसकी लैंग्वेज भी वैसी ही होगी. लेकिन अब मिल्टन had to be very cautious here. He had to use such language that would not offend anyone. ठीक है? He could not offend God himself, and he was, a devout believer. So, उसकी जो choice of words है वो इतनी appropriate है कि it does not offend, but at the same time it conveys what a creature who was exalted and who was depraved at the same time must be feeling. The language of rebellion cannot be same as that of obedience. You know that. Someone who's obedient would use a language of admiration and gratefulness, and someone who's a rebel would be challenging the person he's rebelling from. So Satan की language different होगी उस बंदे की language से जो कि खुदा का obedient होगा. Adam and Eve की language से Satan की language different होगी. Satan की language Gabriel की language से different होगी. Raphael की language से different होगी. It has to have certain characteristics in it, and that characteristic Milton provided in the form of stubbornness, haughtiness, and in the form of obstinacy. So his language has haughtiness, obstinacy. Expressions are general, otherwise offensive, then as they are wicked. They're offensive, The expressions are offensive. Haughty, he's obstinate. Obstinate and haughty people, ढीठ और ज़िद्दी लोग और मगरूर लोग जो हैं, they put you off. ठीक है? और जो haughtiness है ना, जो जिसको अब तकब्बुर भी कहते हैं, ये शैतान का डाउनफॉल था ना, ये शैतान का हमाशिया था. This was how he fell. This was why he fell. And this was the kind of language that Milton used. His language was not wicked. He was not being blasphemous. He was not challenging God constantly, you know, by saying that he was powerful, more powerful than God was, but he was being haughty. He was being obstinate. He was not ready to accept his fault. He was not ready to accept the fact that he has sinned and that he has done something wrong. But what he was doing, he was being defiant. And he was being stubborn, and he was being bitter. He forgot about everything else, he forgot his own part in this making. He forgot his own part in whatever was happening to him. He just continued to blame Jesus for replacing him, continued to blame mankind for replacing him, and he continued to fall in this pit of disobedience. Instead of stopping at this one point where he has made this mistake and realizing that he has made this mistake and then repenting on that mistake and asking for forgiveness, he didn't do that. He was being stubborn and haughty and obstinate, and he kept on falling in that pit of this bottomless pit of disobedience. And that is why he's so depraved. That is why he's feeling so defeated, and that is why he wants to take revenge, because he's not realizing his own mistake here. Adam and Eve were also betrayed in two different states. And first is the state of innocence. State of innocence थी जब वो paradise में रह रहे थे, when they have been created, and they have not disobeyed God yet. And they have not been tempted by Satan, for that matter. They used to live in paradise. It was a garden. They used to work in the garden. They used to live in harmony. Adam was alone, and then Eve was created for him. And when Eve was created for him, Eve was supposed to be, you know, Adam was supposed to be the superior one, and Eve was there for him. So she was sort of a subordinate. So they were in a peaceful harmony together. They were not bossing each other around, but harmoniously they were coexisting. During the innocence, sentiments as such as innocence can generate and utter. अगर आप innocence के sentiments को समझना चाहते हैं, तो आप बच्चों के sentiments को ही समझ सकते हैं, क्योंकि innocence is not something that adults experience. Because once you get into the world and you've experienced life, innocence, it just flies away. Their love is pure and is based on mutual respect. There's no physical element involved. There's no lust involved. There's no, you know, the element of sex is not involved here. Their love is platonic. It's based on mutual respect. They like each other. They like to talk to each other. They like to spend time in each other's company. They do not want to do, you know, get physical. Their repasts are without luxury. They do not believe in luxury. Luxury is something when you need, when you're exposed. Okay? They do not need anything. They do not know better. They just know that this is what they have been provided, and they find it luxurious enough for themselves. So they rest. They do not need luxuries to rest. They do not need luxury to enjoy themselves. उनको TV, fridge, VCR और double bed और ortho mattress और इस तरह की चीजें नहीं चाहिए थी enjoy करने के लिए. They didn't need all these fruits, and they didn't need, you know, good things to eat and good things to wear. It was not in their book. They were just happy as they were. Their diligence was without toil. They were working hard, but their working hard was not, you know, per force. It was not tiring them out. It was not a toil. Toil is hard work. But working hard and hard work, there's a difference between it. They worked diligently. They liked to work hard. But it was not something that has been forced on them, something that would tire them out physically, something that they would abhor. It was something that they liked doing. Their address to their Maker have little more than admiration and gratitude. When they talked to God, when they addressed God, when they prayed, their attitude was that of admiration. They were all praises for God. They were all praises for the things that He has given him. They were all grateful for everything that has been given to them. Adam was thankful for Eve, and Eve was thankful for Adam. They were thankful for the paradise. They were thankful for the fruits that they were given. They were thankful for the place they were given to sleep. They were thankful for everything, for being created as such. They didn't need anything else. Fruition left them nothing to ask, and innocence left them nothing to fear. They had everything, and because they had everything, they didn't dare ask for anything else. And because they were innocent, because they didn't know of the dangers of the world to nahi kehna chahiye, because they didn't know the dangers that they were going to face or the horrors that were in their future, so they had nothing to fear. They were innocent, they were happy, they were relaxed, and they were all admiration and gratefulness for God. So Adam and Eve, when they fall, when Eve eats from the tree of knowledge, and she also tempts Adam, as they put it, to eat, and he eats, and they fall, and they turn to each other in physical lust, and they fall from the grace. What happens then? Innocence to khatam ho gayi, state of sinfulness start ho gayi. Usme guilt enter ho jayegi. They have done something wrong. They are sorry about it, but there's less of being sorry and more of guilt. And when there is guilt, then there is distrust. You don't trust each other. Because you're guilty yourself, you try to apportion blames on others. There's discord. Because there's distrust, there's going to be discord. There's going to be a fight. There's going to be a rift. There is going to be an argument. And there's going to be mutual accusation as a result of that argument. When you're going to argue, you're going to place blames. You're going to tell the other person that it is their fault. Adam is going to blame Eve, that why did she eat? And Eve is going to blame Adam that he should not have eaten if she has eaten. So there was a stubborn self-defense. Both are going to try and defend each other, not each other, themselves. Eve is going to defend her action, Adam is going to defend her action. And जब ये इस stage पे चीजें पहुंचेंगी, उसके बाद continuous downhill ही जाएंगी. And then they're going to have this feeling of dejection and doom and depression. And इसी dejection or depression or doom की feeling में Eve ने decide किया that she wanted to kill herself. And this was the point where Adam decided that he does not want Eve to die. He wants to live with her. And at that point they decided that the best way out and the best course of action would be to ask forgiveness. They regard each other with alienated minds and dread their creator as avenger of their transgression. अच्छा, अब वो एक दूसरे को जिससे पहले वो एक दूसरे के बारे में फील कर रहे थे, they didn't. They loved each other. We discussed that, na? That they loved each other and they respected each other. But now they don't trust each other and they look at each other with alienated mind. Alienated minds का मतलब है they were observing each other without the feeling of love. यानी कि होता है ना, when you like someone, you give them the benefit of doubt. Here they were so under stress that the feeling of love and respect and likeness and fondness, it was nowhere there. They were just being, distrustful of each other. And they were also dreading. Before, when they were in the state of innocence, they were, all admiration and they were all grateful for whatever God has given them. But now they are afraid of God. They're afraid that they have transgressed. They have crossed a line. They have done something that they've been specifically told not to do. outrightly defines है ना, यानी कि आपने कोई चोर दरवाजा भी नहीं ढूंढा, बल्कि आपने डायरेक्ट ऑर्डर को डिफाई कर दिया. आपको कहा गया कि आपने इस फल से दरख्त से फल तोड़ के नहीं खाना, और आपने दरख्त से फल तोड़ के खा लिया. आपने डायरेक्टली डिसोबे कर दिया. आपने कोई बेनिफिट ऑफ डाउट ली किसी तरह भी नहीं मिल सकती आपको कि जी ये हो गया था या वो हो गया था, या आपको किसी ने आपके मुंह में डाल दिया था, आप सो रहे थे और दरख्त से फल टूट के आपके मुंह में गिर गया था. ऐसी तो कोई बात ही नहीं हुई. कोई आपके पास एक्सक्यूज भी नहीं है. और इंसान इतना इनोसेंट था उस स्टेज पे, एडम एंड ईव बोथ, दैट दे डिड not even think of finding an excuse. They just, and that is why they were so exalted later on. That is why they just rose in the favor again, because they didn't try to find any excuse. They just accepted what they have done, and they asked for forgiveness. So at this stage, when the state of sin settled in, the first thing that they were afraid of was that how angry God is going to be and how is he going to punish them. At last they decide that now that we have done a mistake, we have to rectify it somehow. We have to do something about it. And for this purpose, what they did was they asked for his forgiveness. And they were forgiven, they were redeemed, and they rejoined the hope and mercy by the Son. He said that that this should be accepted, and the God accepted it, and he sent, as a consolation, he sent Michael to them, and Michael told them that they were forgiven and everything, but there was a but there, but they will have to suffer the consequences of whatever they have done, and because there was a reason God had forbidden them not to eat from the tree of knowledge, and as they have eaten from the tree of knowledge, now they're going to have to suffer the consequences. The consequences were that they would have to leave the paradise, they would have to go out and live in the world, they will have to make their own living, they will have to reproduce and carry on this race that God has created, and they would have to face death. And the good thing that came out of it was that Adam remained the superior being. He was always superior than Eve, and it was retained even before the fall and after the fall as well. And the good thing, the other good thing that came out of it was that this hope was established for the generations to come. That if you make a mistake, it does not mean the end of the world. It does not mean that you're going to, you should keep on doing the same thing again and again because you're beyond hope. No, it means it gave you the hope that if you have done something wrong, you can stop right there. You can ask for forgiveness, and God is all forgiveness. He would forgive you. He would be merciful. He has promised you that He'll be merciful. He has denied Himself the right to punish you like this. He would forgive you, and He would redeem you, and you'll be restored to hope and mercy. The plan of Paradise Lost has this inconvenience that it comprises neither human action nor human manners. ये इसकी सबसे बड़ा flaw है. इसमें human action नहीं है, human manner नहीं है. Adam and Eve are but mere puppets in the hands of these, celestial beings. वो उनको जैसे चाहते हैं इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, वो tempt कर रहे हैं, and इंसान इतना weak था कि उनके हाथों के tempt हो गया और उसने वो बहुत बड़ी सी गलती कर ली. The men and women who suffer in such a state that no man and woman would ever be in that state. So have little natural curiosity and sympathy, because we would never be in that state of innocence, because we would never be in that paradise, because we would never be approached by Satan and being tempted by him, because we have never been told by God not to eat from this tree. We do not actually sympathize with them. We do not feel the same kind of curiosity. I mean, why not eat from that tree? लेकिन थोड़ा सा मुझे इस पे ऑब्जेक्शन ये है कि आपको जब आप बच्चों को भी किसी चीज़ से मना करते हैं, अगर आप उनको कहें कि इसको हाथ नहीं लगाना, ये गर्म है, they make sure that they touch it. So the curiosity is something that I can understand. However, I do not sympathize with them. Of course, because I am, a cynic maybe, and I think that they've done something wrong, so they should face the consequences. But Samuel Johnson का belief ये है कि there is no human action here, and the characters that have been human, that have been portrayed here, these are the kind of characters that we cannot identify ourselves with. We are not the same as Adam and Eve. Okay? Adam was a prophet. He was the first creation of God, and Eve was his wife, and we do not associate ourselves with it, so we do not feel the same kind of sympathy and curiosity we would feel for human beings who were more like us in our situations. But these truths are too important to be new. We have been taught since our infancy. They have mingled with our solitary thoughts and familiar conversations. ये वही बात है कि ये वही चीज़ें हैं which have been taught to us since we were little children. The stories of prophet have been told to us in the Quran, in the Bible, and in the other scriptures as well. So we know these stories. We talk about them in everyday life. We refer to them when we talk about things like the being, temptation and all that. Uski references हैं, allusions हैं. This is a common day topic. So before things being things, therefore not new, they raise no unaccustomed emotion in the mind. What we know before, we cannot learn, and what is not unexpected cannot surprise. This is something that we already know. This is something that we have been taught since we were children. So this is something that we know. We can't learn it. We already know it. So there's nothing to learn here. And it is not unexpected. We know that Adam was going to fall. We know that Eve was going to eat from this fruit of knowledge, from this tree of knowledge. We know it because we have been taught it since we were little children. So it does not surprise us. So there is no learning here. There's nothing new here. There's nothing, no element of surprise here. Pleasure and terror, they are genuine source of poetry. The source, the poetry में यही था ना, pity and fear, ठीक है? And it should also provide pleasure. But इस case में, the pleasure should be so that the human mind can conceive, and the poetical terror such which human passion can combat. ऐसी चीज़ होनी चाहिए, ऐसा प्लेजर होना चाहिए जो आपके दिमाग को समझ भी आ सके, जिसको आपका दिमाग हैंडल कर सके, और ऐसा टेरर होना चाहिए, ऐसी टेरर फीलिंग्स ऑफ फेयर ऐसी होनी चाहिए जो कि आपकी पैशन जिसको कॉम्बैट भी कर सके, जो आपको समझ आ सके. भाई ऐसा पैशन नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसे प्लेजर नहीं होना चाहिए, ऐसा फेयर नहीं होना चाहिए जो कि विच इज़ बियॉन्ड योर इमोशनल sensibilities or emotional capabilities. The good and evil of eternity are too heavy a subject for the wings of wit. ठीक है? पोइट्री के लिए this topic of eternal good and evil, this battle of good and evil, and the battle at such a high rank or between God and the highest form of beings that he has created, it's a little too much to be discussed in poetry. It becomes too heavy, it becomes too ornate, it becomes too grand, and it becomes too disturbing to be absorbed. So we feel humble adoration, ठीक है, we adore the poet, we adore the topics, we adore with humbleness, we see, okay, fine, I give in, I understand, this is a great topic, you've handled it well, good. Calm belief, we believe in it, we know that this is going to happen, that there is a battle between good and evil, and the good is going to be successful. But in the beginning it would seem that evil is being successful, and you understand that this can happen, you accept it and you be calm. And a passive helplessness, you know that this is good and you accept it, and there's nothing that you can do about it, you just sit back and you just listen to the person. So these known truths are conveyed by a new train of images. There is very little given to us by the scriptures, but Milton has expanded it to such an extent and branched it off so variedly that it seems like a miracle that he manages to save the reverence of his subject from the lewdness of fiction. अच्छा, इसमें जो पॉइंट था सैमुअल जॉनसन का वो ये था कि अभी तक ये सारी बातें हो गई, हमने मिल्टन की ये फॉल्ट निकाल दी कि there is nothing new in it, the subject matter is not new, the characters are not new, these things are not new, these things are beyond the power of wit to carry, these things are not creating the kind of pleasure and terror that we can combat with, and all these things are true. But at the same time, Samuel Johnson also says that the kind of thing that he has taken from the scripture, it was not that big, but he had expanded it so much, he had added so many things to it, he has branched it off in so many directions that it seems like a miracle that something so sacred, something so nice could be saved, which has been, you know, added upon so much, जिसमें इतनी सारी चीजें डाली गई हैं, वो fiction से बची रहें. Fiction is something lewd, fiction is something commonplace, fiction is something vulgar. So he has taken this reverent subject and branched it off, expanded so much, and even then saved it from being a fiction. उसको fictionalize किया, लेकिन उसको fiction की vulgarity से बचा लिया. Paradise Lost is a display of study and genius. He took from nature, from story, from fable, from modern science, whatever could adorn his thoughts. So Milton has taken from everywhere, because we have discussed that it was an epic poem. Or epic poem की quality ये होती है कि you have to bring together all the faculties together. All the faculties of the poet are brought together with the help of this active imagination that he has. So Milton, who has the genius, has added to his genius by the hard work that he has put into it, by the study that he has put into it, and he has borrowed from everywhere. He's borrowed from nature, he's borrowed from science, he's borrowed from books, he's borrowed from fable, from modern science, whatever could add to his poetry, whatever could, you know, give meaning to his poetry, what kind of allusion would suitable for his poetry, he has used it, he has added it on. It is an accumulation of knowledge, impregnated his mind, fermented by study and exalted by imagination. Knowledge उसने इकट्ठा किया, and that knowledge pregnanted his mind. उसके mind के अंदर वो saturate हो गया. उस saturation को उसने ferment किया with the help of studying these books and classics. And as a result of all this, there was this exalted imagination. Exalted imagination helped putting all the faculties together. But the original deficiency cannot be overlooked. We admire it and all, but we lay it down, and then do not feel the urge to pick it up again. We do not want to study it, to keep on doing it, to keep on reading it. We do not get interested in it as so much that we cannot put it down. His infernal and celestial powers are sometimes pure spirit and sometimes animated body. This is another criticism on Milton which Samuel Johnson has done. He says that he has this confusion going on. उसकी philosophy और उसकी learning जो है वो confuse हो जाती है. उसकी religious जो philosophy है और उसकी learning confuse हो जाती है. उसकी poetry के अंदर ये perplexity आपको नजर आती है. Sometimes the beings are animated and sometimes they're pure spirit. For example, Saturn, when he walks upon burning mark with the lance, he has a body. जब वो लेक से उतर के ज़मीन पे लैंड करता है चेन्स तोड़ के अपनी, तो ही वॉक्स देयर. सो व्हेन ही वॉक्स देयर इट मीन्स दैट ही हैज़ अ बॉडी एंड ही इज़ होल्डिंग अ लांस. उसके हाथ में वो एक सोटी सी भी है लंबी सी. एंड इफ़ ही इज़ होल्डिंग अ लांस इट मीन्स के ही हैज़ अ बॉडी. उसके पास हाथ है तो बॉडी है, तो वो तो स्पिरिट था. तो ये कन्फ्यूजन है कि Satan was an angel and he was a spirit, so how come he has a body here? Or when he was journeying between hell and the earth, he has a body. How does he has a body? Because he was going through vacuum and he was being pulled down, and suddenly there was a vapor, a big rush of vapor. It came and it pushed him up. तो वो जो वेपर को जो चीज़ पुश अप कर रही है, वेपर जिस चीज़ को कर रहा है, तो वो बॉडी ही होगी ना. कोई मैस ही होगा तो उसको ऊपर लेके जाएगा. स्पिरिट के तो अंदर से वेपर गुजर जाएगा. When he animates the toad, he's more spirit. जब वो उस पैराडाइज के अंदर जाता है और टोड के अंदर अपनी बॉडी का एंटर हो जाता है, टोड की बॉडी के अंदर, उसका मतलब है वो स्पिरिट था. अगर उसके पास कोई मटेरियल बॉडी होती तो वो टोड के अंदर तो नहीं घुस सकती. इतना सा टोड है, उसके अंदर कितना बड़ा शैतान जो कैसे घुस जाएगा. तो अगर वो उसके अंदर घुस गया, इसका मतलब है कि फिजिकल बीइंग था, उसके कोई मटेरियल बॉडी नहीं थी. इट वॉज नॉट मैटर, इट वॉज just spirit. But when he's ready to fight Gabriel, there he would come out of the toad and be in his real form, and he would have a spear and he would have a shield as well. तो वो अगर spirit form में toad के अंदर गया था, तो बाहर निकलते matter कैसे बन गया. Number of inhabitants in Pandemonium, the palace that these evil angels, these rebel angels, they made for themselves in hell, उसको Pandemonium कहते थे. अच्छा, they were, उसने जब मिल्टन ने उनकी डिस्क्रिप्शन दी तो मिल्टन ने कहा है कि there were so many of them in that, it's such a little place. It was a little place considering the number. ठीक है. अच्छा, तो इसका मतलब है कि इतनी थोड़ी इस जगह पे इतने सारे एंजल्स थे, रेबल एंजल्स थे, तो इसका मतलब वो स्पिरिट होंगे, बिकॉज स्पिरिट्स डोंट नीड स्पेस, यू नो, उनके लिए तो कोई भी स्पेस बहुत होगी. लेकिन उसके बाद यही जो रेबल एंजल्स हैं, दे वर क्रश्ड बाय these armors that they were wearing when they were having this fight. They were crushed by them. Mountains चढ़ी नहीं जा रही थी because of the armors that they had on. तो अगर उनको आर्मर्स तंग कर रही थी, अपनी जरा बख्तर जिसको कहते हैं, जब वो उनको तंग कर रही, तो इट मीन्स कि दे वर बॉडीज. So there's this confusion that continuously goes on in Milton, that he is unable to decide whether the spirit agency, is it going to be spirit or does it going to have a material form. Dryden remarks that Milton has some flats. This is only to say that parts are not equal. He believes that some parts are very high and some parts are very low. So in every work, every part is not equal. Some parts are very good, some parts are very well written, and some parts are not. Every part of the work is important. They link together. They make the chains. They make the connections. So Milton, when he has expatiated in the sky, may be allowed sometimes to visit the earth. When Milton has been so good, he has written so well, he has described the sky, the heaven, the earth, the Satan, the God, and everything else so well. So he can visit the earth sometimes, even if he's not writing well. Just ignore it, because you cannot be, you know, all this eloquent all the time. His play on words, his equivocations, his unnecessary and ungraceful use of terms of art can be ignored. As they're little in number, they scarcely deserve the attention of critics. Samuel Johnson is being very forgiving here. He says that there are equivocations, there are certain references, there's certain use of a certain way the language is used, certain figures of speech that Milton has used. That seems obsolete, that seems artificial, that seems unnecessary. But they're very few in number, and you can ignore them because otherwise the poetry is so good, and because they're so little in number that it's not the duty for critic to point out something that is in minority or that happens occasionally. The basis of Paradise Regained is a narrow dialogue without action, which can never please, like a union of narrative and dramatic powers. Because there is a lack of action, because there is a lack of drama, and so the Paradise Regained is not a very pleasing effort. So इसकी जो दूसरी बड़ी fault Paradise Lost की ये निकालते हैं, वो ये है कि Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained में the language is elegant sometimes, and the dialogue that he's written is always instructive. Had this poem written not by Milton but by some imitator, it would have claimed and received universal praise. अगर ये किसी और ने लिखी होती as a sequel to Paradise Lost, not Milton, it would have been very famous. It would have been appreciated much. But as Milton has written it as a sequel to Paradise Lost, as compared to Paradise Lost, it's not much liked because it's considered to be too instructive. Paradise Lost ही इतनी heavy हो जाती है intellect के लिए कि आपके लिए Paradise Regained को digest करना थोड़ा सा मुश्किल हो जाता है. Milton would not have excelled in dramatic writing. He knew human nature only in gross. I have already told you that Milton was not much of a social figure. He was not much of a public figure. He did not get involved in the social life. He was not active socially, not have many friends and everything. So that is why he did not understand human beings, which was necessary for a dramatist. The dramatist has to create all the shades of personality. क्योंकि उसने उन shades of personality को manipulate करके ही एक character create करना होता है. तो जब वो ये character create नहीं कर सकता, जब तक कि उसके पास human nature की minuteness, intricacies के बारे में knowledge ना हो. मिल्टन के पास ये नहीं था. He had everything, but he had everything that he could learn from books. ठीक है, उसने इंसानों को books के जरिए पढ़ा था. He knew what books could teach, but he had mingled little with the world and was deficient in knowledge and that experience must confer. I have already given you an example that making something, doing something can teach you a little more about it than reading about it. ठीक है, चपाती बनाना जो है ये इन इटसेल्फ एक काम है. जब तक आप बनाएंगे नहीं तो आप जितनी मर्जी थ्योरी पढ़ते रहें उसके बारे में कि आटा इस तरह निकलेगा और उसको इस तरह पेड़ा बनाया जाएगा और उसको ऐसे गोल करके ऐसे तवे पे डालेंगे, तब तक यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड, तब तक यू वोंट बी एबल टू मेक रोटी. जस्ट बाय रीडिंग अबाउट मेकिंग अ चपाती वुड नॉट टेल यू हाउ टू टीच चपाती. मेकिंग इट, डूइंग इट would teach you about it. So when Milton could not mingle into the life, he could not know about how people behave. There are 50 shades of people. A personality has innumerable shades, innumerable ways they could act, innumerable feelings and emotions and these idiosyncrasies people have. So Milton didn't know that, and that is why he was not a great dramatist. So through all his greater works, there prevails a uniform peculiarity of diction that bears no resemblance to any past writer. Milton की language different language थी. इसको writers ने बहुत ज़्यादा criticize भी किया है. They have believed कि Milton has written in a foreign idiom. They also said that Milton wrote in Babylonish dialect. They also said that Milton, the language, English language, it sank under his wit. It was not fit enough to carry whatever he has to say. So इसकी जो लैंग्वेज की peculiarity है, जो particular way of writing है, it's in his prose and in his poetry as well. इसकी prose में तो वो people they pick it out and they criticize it because उसकी prose को इतनी powerful नहीं है, लेकिन उसकी poetry इतनी powerful है and people admire it so much that they just ignore this problem of diction that Milton has. Addison says our language sank under him. He uses English with a foreign idiom, which in his prose is condemned, but the power and beauty of his poetry is so that the criticism sinks in admiration. I've already told you that people believe that his idiom was, and writing was, sentence structure was, the way he was using language, the way he was using different forms of speech, or figures of speech. It was so different from our ordinary way of using it that it appears as if he's writing in some other tongue. And the subject matter that he chose or what he wanted to say was so great that the regular language, regular English language could not, hold the burden. Wit, like all other things, has its changes and fashion, and at different times take different forms. Now Samuel Johnson moves on to the metaphysical poets, and he believes that wit is very different from time to time. कभी कोई चीज़ fashion में होती है, कभी कोई चीज़ fashion में होती है, like everything else. About the beginning of the 19th century, there appeared a race of writers that may be termed as metaphysical poets. ठीक है? 19th century के शुरू में metaphysical poets आए थे. As Aristotle calls poetry an imitative art, these writers will lose their right to be called poets. Samuel Johnson does not have anything nice to say about these metaphysical poets. He says that they call themselves poets. And the poetry would be something that is an imitative act, according to Aristotle. So if they call themselves poets, they should imitate something. But when you read their poetry, it's just verses, as he says, as he puts it, that they have decided that they want to, they're learned people and they want to show off their learning. And they've decided that the only way to show off their learning would be by writing it in poetry. So he says that it's unfortunate that they have chosen poetry, because they do not write poetry. They have nothing to say. They just have knowledge to impart. They just have to show people that they can say things in ways which never have been said before. So these people, they do not have the right to be called poets, because they imitate nothing. They seem to have imitated nothing. They neither copied nature nor life, neither painted the form of matter, nor represented the operation of intellect. They have copied from nothing. अब इमिटेशन की डेफिनेशन, ये मेमेसिस की डेफिनेशन अरिस्टोटल ने दी थी कि वो आम जिंदगी से कॉपी किया जाएगा, जिंदगी से, इमोशन से, आर्ट से, फिलोसफी से, किसी भी चीज़ की कॉपी होगी, इमिटेशन होगी. इट शुड क्रिएट एन आइडिया इन योर माइंड, एंड दैट आइडिया कैन क्रिएट मेमोरीज इन योर माइंड. यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई विद द आइडिया. सो इफ यू कांट आइडेंटिफाई विद द आइडिया, इट मीन्स कि देयर इज नो इमिटेशन हियर. Similarly, Samuel Johnson, what he's trying to tell you here is that these people, they have imitated, but they have imitated something that we do not understand. ठीक है, वो है ही नहीं, वो इस तरह की imitation है कि उसको imitation समझना ही नहीं चाहिए. They may be called wits, as Dryden confesses. ठीक है, wits, very learned people. They know things, they have knowledge. But as Dryden says, कि John Donne is, as far as the wit goes, he's a little more intellectual than Dryden was. But if you want to compare him as a poet, then Dryden thinks that he was a better poet than John Donne was. The thoughts of metaphysical poets are often new but seldom natural, because their purpose was to write something that has never been said before. पोप की definition तो यही थी ना wit की. पोप ने कहा था कि wit is something that is writing something or saying something that has never been said before. So उनकी बातें नई ज़रूर होती हैं, पर वो natural नहीं होती. Natural क्यों नहीं होती? क्योंकि वो बहुत ज़्यादा innovative होने के उसमें चीज़ों को बहुत ज़्यादा stretch करते थे, बहुत ज़्यादा far-fetched image, बहुत ज़्यादा heterogeneous images को, बहुत ज़्यादा different images को इकट्ठा करने की कोशिश करते थे. They are not obvious, but they know just whether. They are, and the reader wonders why were they even formed. जो उनकी images हैं, जो उनके allusions हैं, जो metaphors और similes use करते हैं, वो readers को perplex कर देते हैं, उनको confuse कर देते हैं. आपको समझ ही नहीं आती कि इसने ये idea form किया, तो इसने ये idea क्यों form किया है. Wit in their case may be called discordia concurs, a combination of dissimilar images or discovery of occult resemblance in things apparently unlike. They try to make groups, they try to form occults, they try to form, bundles of things that do not resemble each other. Generally आप groups बनाते हैं, sets बनाते हैं, occults बनाते हैं, तो ये उन चीज़ों के होते हैं जो आपस में कोई ना कोई similarity रखती हैं. लेकिन metaphysical poets के case में they try to make groups of things that have no similarity whatsoever. So this is known as discordia concurs, a combination of heterogeneous ideas. The ideas are yoked together with violence. That is, and it does not give the reader a very pleasant, feeling when you read to it. You might get some sort of relief when you decipher the conceit that they have used, but you would not get pleasure out of it. They were not successful in moving or representing affection. Because they were not writing from the heart, they could not move people. They could not move people towards one idea. यानी कि वो आपको convince नहीं कर सकते थे किसी चीज़ के बारे में. They did not write कि उसको पढ़ के you should fall in love with something or some character. They did not write that you hate someone. जो अच्छा writer होगा वो एक ऐसा character, एक ऐसा idea create करेगा कि you're convinced after you've read it. The metaphysical poets, they do not create things like that. They fail to convince you. As they are wholly employed on something unexpected and surprising, they have no regard to the uniformity of sentiment. They do not believe कि आपको please करना है या आपको नाराज़ करना है. बस उनका purpose ये है कि they have to write something new. They have to create a new idea. They have to write something that has never been written before. They do not care what they should have said or done. किसी खास रूल को नहीं फॉलो कर रहे, किसी खास कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट को फॉलो नहीं कर रहे, किसी खास मेथडोलॉजी को फॉलो नहीं कर रहे. दे डू नॉट केयर. ऑल दे केयर अबाउट इज राइटिंग समथिंग दैट हैज नेवर बीन सेड बिफोर. They are beholders of human nature. They observe human nature. They look at human nature. They do not go deep into it and try to, do something about it. They just observe. Silent observers sitting on one side, aloof. They don't care. They are beings looking upon good and evil. They are impassive and at leisure. Impassive, कोई emotion नहीं है, and they're at leisure. Leisurely observing human beings, observing good and evil, not passing judgment. as deities, making remarks on the action of man and vicissitudes of life without interest and without emotion. Looking at life, जैसे ज़्यूस था ऊपर बैठा हुआ माउंट ओलंपस के और दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है, इंसान क्या कर रहे हैं, उनको observe कर रहे हैं and not doing. It was rarely that they interfered in the everyday life. Their courtship has no fondness, the lamentation had no sorrow. Because they're not writing from heart, their courtship does not have the feeling. If a hero is courtshipping, if a man is doing this courtship for a woman, and if he's expressing his love, you would not feel it. You would not have this flutter in your stomach when you think of these romantic dialogues. And when he's describing the death of a loved one, you would not feel the lament, you would not feel the sorrow, because जो जिस तरह उसने describe किया है, उसका purpose आपको sorrowful करना नहीं है, बल्कि उसका purpose अपनी learning show करना है. Their wish was to say what has never been said before. This sums it up, metaphysical poets, that they wanted to say what was never been said before. They wanted to say what was new, what was unique, what was innovative. What they wanted of the sublime, they endeavored to supply by hyperbole. They did not aim for sublimity, they did not aim for subtlety, they aimed for exaggeration, hyperbole, over-exaggeration. The amplification had no limits. They exaggerated things and it had no limits. It could go on and on and on. They left not only reason but fancy behind. So it's not only logic that they let go of, but they also let go of fancy, imagination ko bhi piche chhod gaye. They wrote things which cannot even be imagined about, as he says here, that produced combinations of confused magnificence. The magnificence was there, the things were grand, but they were confused at the same time as well. They were not things that you could easily understand, that only could not be credited. You cannot understand them, but you cannot even imagine them. This is about Samuel Johnson we have discussed so far. The next thing we are going to discuss is going to be William Wordsworth and his preface to the Prelude. अच्छा, अब इसमें वर्ड्सवर्थ आपने रोमांटिक पोइट्री पढ़ी होगी और रोमांटिक पोइट्री में वर्ड्सवर्थ का नाम बहुत ज़्यादा मशहूर है. He was a British poet and he used to write about nature, the beauty of nature and everything that goes on around it. It's a very simple kind of poetry. But he is going to tell us what he thinks poetry should be. So we start with lyrical ballads then.